Today, we're tackling a topic that's really reshaping industries and careers everywhere. The future of the global IT job market. You've shared a whole stack of sources with us, reports, articles, research, giving us a snapshot of what's happening now and looking ahead into, well, 2024 and 2025.
That's right.
And our mission here is really to pull out the absolute most important insights from all this material, especially, thinking about the massive impact of AI, so you can feel genuinely clued in on this whole evolving landscape.
And the global economic picture painted in these sources, it's a complex backdrop. It's definitely described as cautious.
Cautious, okay.
Yeah, influenced by things like ongoing geopolitical tensions, for example. And this has actually led to a downward revision in forecasts for new job creation globally.
Right.
The International Labor Organization, the ILO, they revised their forecast down to 53 million new jobs by 2025.
Okay, 53 million.
Yeah, down from 60 million they'd previously projected. So that signals a slower growth rate, 1.5% compared to the earlier 1.7%.
So slower growth overall. But yet, you look at some numbers, like the OECD's overall unemployment rate, pretty steady at 4.8%.
Exactly, or the EU's record low 5.7%. On the surface, things look quite stable.
And that's the paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what jumps out. The big picture employment rate looks, well, fine. But underneath, these sources show this really significant recalibration happening.
That's the word, recalibration.
It's not just how many jobs, but the fundamental nature of those jobs, where they are, especially in IT.
Precisely. That ILO downgrade, it's not just a number, it signals less capacity for new job growth compared to recent years. And when you dig into those global job market undercurrents, that aggregate stability hides some persistent vulnerabilities the sources really highlight. Youth unemployment, for instance, still stubbornly high globally, around 12.4% for young men, 12.3% for young women.
Still way too high.
And continued jobs gaps for women compared to men, too.
What I found particularly striking, just looking at the broader context in the sources, is this trend in labor's share of income globally. It's actually been eroding. Declined from 53% in 2014 to 52.4% in 2024. What does that tell us?
Well, what's insightful there, according to these sources, is it implies that workers are capturing, a slightly smaller portion of the total economic value being generated globally.
Even as the economy grows.
Even as the economy grows. And this trend, if it continues, it has real implications for income distribution, potentially making inequality worse. It's a key undercurrent to keep in mind, especially when we talk about AI productivity gains later.
Okay, definitely something to watch. All right, let's zero in on the IT market itself then, because the sources show another paradox there that's fascinating. On one hand, 58% of tech leaders are planning to hire for new full-time roles in 2025. That sounds positive.
It does.
But then on the other hand, a pretty big chunk, 45%, still anticipate layoffs. How do those two things fit together?
Yeah, it seems contradictory, but it's not really a simple contraction of the market. The sources use terms like strategic reallocation.
Strategic reallocation.
And high-quality hiring. It means companies aren't just cutting back across the board. They're becoming much more selective, shifting where they invest their talent budget.
Okay.
There's even data showing something like a 12% increase in the average technical interview score needed to get an offer at major tech companies recently.
Wow, 12% higher bar.
Exactly. And the situation in the U.S. kind of illustrates this. Despite all the headlines about layoffs at the big tech giants.
Yeah, you hear about those all the time.
Right. But the overall IT unemployment rate, still remarkably low, 3.7%.
3.7%, that is low.
So the layoffs often represent more of a streamlining, maybe a reprioritization after some really aggressive hiring during the pandemic. They're redirecting resources towards different, maybe more strategic roles now.
Okay, so the insight isn't that tech jobs are just vanishing, but the types of jobs and, like you said, the bar for entry are changing.
Precisely.
And the main force driving this whole transformation, it comes through loud and clear in all the sources: artificial intelligence, AI.
Absolutely. AI is the engine behind this significant job churn the sources described. You look at the World Economic Forum projection. They think by 2030, AI could lead to a net increase of 78 million jobs globally.
A net increase. Okay.
But, and this is the key part, that number comes from creating 170 million new jobs while displacing 92 million existing ones.
Whoa. 170 created, 92 displaced. That's massive turnover.
It is. That level of churn really requires a deep understanding of AI's dual impact. It's not just one thing.
Which brings us right to those two main effects, displacement and augmentation. Let's talk displacement first. What kind of roles are looking most vulnerable based on these sources?
Generally, it's roles that involve a lot of routine, repetitive tasks. Things like administrative assistants, executive secretaries, data entry clerks come up a lot.
That entry, yeah, I can see.
The Sources Project, over 7.5 million data entry jobs could be lost globally by 2027 just due to automation.
7.5 million. Wow.
And the sources also note that advanced economies, like the US or Europe, might see a higher percentage of jobs at risk, maybe around 60%, compared to low-income countries, where it might be closer to 26%.
Why the difference?
Primarily because those advanced economies just have a larger share of administrative and cognitive routine type jobs to begin with.
Got it. Okay, but displacement is only one side of the AI coin. It's also augmenting human work.
Right, augmentation. That means AI isn't necessarily replacing the worker, but it's enhancing their capabilities, automating the more mundane, the rote parts of their job.
Freeing people up.
Exactly. According to the sources, this frees up human time and attention, which encourages the development and use of skills that are, well, uniquely human.
Like creativity.
Creativity, emotional intelligence, critical thinking, problem solving, interpersonal communication, all those things. AI handles the data crunching or the repetitive stuff, allowing humans to focus on higher order thinking, strategy, complex interactions.
And it's also creating completely new jobs too, right?
Definitely. There's a surging demand for roles directly involved with AI or enabled by this digital transformation wave. AI engineers, cybersecurity specialists, data scientists. Those are booming.
The usual suspects in a way.
Yeah, but it's not only tech roles. That WEF report also points to growth in some maybe unexpected areas like farm workers, care jobs.
Really? Farm workers and care jobs.
Yeah, suggesting broader societal shifts are also happening, maybe enabled or supported by technology indirectly, or just reflecting needs completely outside the tech sector. So the insight is AI creates these specialist tech roles, but it might also support growth in very human-centric service roles too.
Okay, that's really interesting, Nora. So let's get into the details and look at some specific regional IT markets based on the data you shared, starting with the United States.
Okay, the U.S., as we kind of touched on, it shows slow but steady overall growth, despite those high-profile layoffs. And that really low 3.7% IT unemployment rate. It tells us skilled talent is still very much in demand.
So where's the growth happening specifically?
Key areas are those cutting-edge fields. AI, cybersecurity, green tech, that's tech supporting environmental sustainability.
Big tech, right.
And cloud computing, of course. What's notable is maybe a flattening of growth in traditional software engineering roles compared to the boom years.
Okay.
But alongside that, there's rising demand for strategic IT leadership. Roles focused on how technology really integrates with the business goals.
So the insight there is the U.S. market values experience in these newer strategic tech areas, but also that ability to lead and connect tech to the bigger business picture.
Exactly.
What are specific roles and compensation? Did the sources mention any of that?
Yeah, they listed some high growth roles and typical salaries. AI engineer roles projected for 26% growth. Cybersecurity, 33%. Data scientists, 36%.
Big growth number.
And that demand shows up in salaries. Data scientists, cyber experts, averaging over $122,000 a year. And at the very top, those strategic leadership roles command really high pay. CIOs, chief information officers, potentially $250,000. VPs of development, $237K. CSOs, chief information security officers, $232K.
Wow, okay. Big money at the top. And one of the major tensions you mentioned for the U.S. market, it's around work models.
Yeah, that's a significant dynamic right now. The sources point out this big disconnect. Nearly half of tech workers say they'd quit if forced back to the office full-time.
Half. That's huge.
It is. Yet only about 18% of new tech jobs are expected to be fully remote.
Only 18%. So where's it landing?
The predicted norm for 2025, based on the sources, looks like a mix. Probably 50% in-office, maybe 30% hybrid, 20% remote. And hybrid usually means, 2-3 days a week in the office.
So there's this real pushback against full remote from employers, even though candidates want it. That's a key feature of the U.S. market.
Definitely a point of tension right now.
Okay, let's move north. Canada, what's the picture there?
Canada's IT sector looks set for pretty substantial growth. around 22.4% projected for 2024.
22.4%, that's strong.
Yeah, the sector is expected to employ 2.26 million people by 2025. And Canada has this wider challenge, 1 million job vacancies across all sectors nationally. So that includes strong demand for skilled tech folks.
Where's the demand strongest in tech?
Particularly robust in those cutting-edge areas again, AI, machine learning, even quantum computing. This is leading to significant openings for data scientists and computer engineers. They estimate around 13,400 openings there.
Okay.
And the sources emphasize this growth isn't just limited to the big tech companies. It's really driven by digital transformation happening across all sorts of industries: healthcare, manufacturing, finance. They all need tech talent.
Interesting. So the insight for Canada is it's this widespread digital adoption across the board that's fueling tech job growth, not just the specialized tech firms.
That seems to be the key driver, yeah.
How about Europe? Let's maybe focus on the UK as a major market there.
Right, the UK. It boasts Europe's largest tech ecosystem, valued at $1.1 trillion. And it's a real hub for AI startup investment, gets about 16% of all UK venture capital VC funding.
Wow, $1.1 trillion. What roles are hot in the UK?
Sought-after roles largely mirror the global trends. AI and machine learning engineers' salaries there range pretty widely, like £45,000 up to £120,000. Data analysts and scientists, maybe $30K to $85K. Cybersecurity pros, around $45K. Cloud engineers, huge range, $38K to $144K. DevOps, $50K to $85K.
So similar skills needed.
Very similar. Also rising value in roles like product managers and blockchain engineers too. They mentioned $65K to $90K for blockchain.
Okay, and the broader European context, low unemployment overall.
Yeah, low EU unemployment, 5.7%. But the sources highlight a persistent digital skills gap.
The skills gap again.
Exactly. It means demand for tech talent exists, but companies are really struggling to find candidates with the specific skills they need right now.
So what's the insight there? What kind of skills are maybe missing?
Well, it reinforces the value of what some call T-shaped skill.
Yep.
Yeah, meaning deep technical knowledge in one area, that's the vertical bar of the T, combined with a broader understanding of business context, communication, collaboration skills. That's the horizontal bar. You need both.
That makes sense. Deep expertise and breadth. Okay, that's a great insight. Let's cross over to India. What's happening there?
India's IT-enabled services sector, ITES, it's projected for significant growth too, around 20%. But what's really striking is a massive 75% surge, specifically in roles related to AI, cybersecurity, and cloud.
75% surge in those areas. Wow.
Yeah, huge demand there. The gig economy and remote work are also big factors, contributing about 10% of the growth. But a major challenge identified is upskilling. Nearly 40% of India's tech workforce apparently needs upskilling to meet these future demands.
40% needing upskilling. That's a lot.
It is. Bangalore is still a primary talent hotspot, but remote work is really enabling decentralization. Professionals in Tier 2 cities are getting more opportunities.
That's interesting. Remote work helping spread the opportunities.
Definitely. The sources also noted a trend in India towards skill-based hiring, maybe even over traditional diversity goals, particularly for those deep tech roles. And salary trends are mixed. DevOps with AWS skills are seeing increases, but some early career roles like front-end developers or junior data scientists might be seeing some downward pressure. Python skills, though, generally remain high-paying.
Okay, a complex picture. Finally, let's look down under Australia.
Australia, experiencing a pretty robust tech boom. It's supported by low national unemployment, just 4.1%, and increasing IT spending overall. Software spending in particular saw impressive growth, 13.4%.
Strong spending. And AI's impact.
The sources project AI and automation will handle about 42% of existing tasks there by 2027.
42%.
Yeah. Key growth areas are familiar. Cloud, about 15% more jobs expected. Cybersecurity, 18% increase. And AI, a 22% growth projection.
And salaries. Similar leadership premium.
Very much so. High demand and compensation for leadership. CIOs can earn up to 375,000 Australian dollars. CTOs, 370K. CSOs, 360K.
Big numbers there, too.
And high-paying specialist roles, too. Cloud architects, up to 280K plus. Cybersecurity architects, up to 275K plus. Data scientists, up to 250K. The sources also specifically mentioned the growing importance of roles related to ESG, environmental, social, and governance sustainability roles are becoming a thing in tech, too.
ESG in tech, interesting. Any other key insights for Australia?
Yeah, one thing that stood out was the value placed on certifications. Certain tech certs can apparently add up to $30,000 AUD to a salary.
Wow, 30K boost from a cert.
Yeah, and they specifically called out the AWS Security Specialty Certification as being particularly high paying down there.
Good to know. So pulling the regions together, the really consistent insight across all of them is this universal demand for skills in AI, cloud, cybersecurity, and data.
Absolutely. That underlines their critical importance for anyone's future career, even with those regional differences in salaries or work models.
Right. So given all this transformation, this regional variation, what does this actually mean for you, the listener, if you're trying to navigate this? Trying to thrive in this landscape. The sources consistently point to one essential characteristic.
Being a perpetual learner.
Perpetual learner. That's the core takeaway.
It really is. The sources get specific about the hard skills in highest demand. AI proficiency is, like, number one, paramount, along with data science, IT operations, cybersecurity, process automation.
Okay.
Specific tech skills mentioned include things like network security, encryption, programming languages, Python, R, Java, C++ come up, machine learning frameworks, data visualization tools.
A technical toolkit.
Exactly. And critically, cloud computing skills and certifications. Especially AWS and Azure, they're highlighted as absolutely essential and directly linked to boosting your salary potential significantly.
But as we kind of touched on with the UK market and the T-shaped skills, it's not just about the deep tech expertise anymore, is it? Soft skills are becoming maybe equally or even more valuable.
Absolutely, yes. The sources list analytical thinking as the number one most important skill, cited by, I think it was 7 out of 10 companies.
Analytical thinking, number one.
Followed by adaptability, creativity, complex problem solving, resilience, flexibility, and something they called high agency.
High agency. What's that exactly?
It essentially means being proactive, resourceful, taking initiative to find solutions, not just waiting to be told what to do.
Got it. Proactive problem solving.
Right. And also curiosity, a real commitment to lifelong learning, leadership potential, talent management skills, and that T-shaped ability, again, deep expertise plus broad knowledge. These are the uniquely human skills that actually make us effective collaborators with AI.
So this need for continuous learning.
Yeah.
It's not just like nice professional development advice anymore. The sources frame it as a flat-out necessity.
It really is framed that way. The World Economic Forum predicts that a staggering 39% of the core skills required for workers globally will be transformed or even become outdated between 2025 and 2030.
Wow, nearly 40% of skills changing in just a few years.
Yeah. So companies are increasingly recognizing this, and they're prioritizing upskilling and reskilling initiatives for their own employees. And the sources suggest that framing this upskilling as empowerment for the employee, not just a reaction to potential job loss, is really key for success.
Makes sense. Empowerment, not fear.
And transparency from employers about what skills will be needed in the future is also vital.
And work models. They continue to be a point of adaptation, right?
Yes. The gig economy is expanding, offering flexibility that a lot of skilled tech workers are actively seeking now. And while we saw that tension in the U.S. with companies pushing for more office time, other places like India are really leveraging remote work to decentralize talent, tap into pools outside the traditional hubs. The sources pretty clearly imply that companies that can effectively support hybrid or remote work models will have a significant advantage in attracting and retaining top talent going forward.
Okay, so pulling all these threads together now, looking at the strategic outlook, what are the big overarching trends and insights from these sources?
Okay, first, that persistent digital skills gap. It remains a major challenge globally. Demand for tech talent is high, yes, but finding candidates with the right mix of current technical skills and those adaptable human capabilities, that's the hard part.
The right combination is scarce.
Exactly. Second, we're definitely seeing a significant shift towards a skills-first economy. Employers are increasingly prioritizing demonstrable, relevant skills, what you can actually do maybe over traditional credentials alone sometimes.
Right. So it's about capability, proving what you can do, not just the degree you have.
Precisely. And thirdly, the emerging paradigm really seems to be human-AI collaboration. AI is increasingly seen as an augmentative tool, something that frees humans up for the higher order, more complex tasks.
Working with AI, not against it.
Exactly. And this requires AI literacy, not just being afraid of it, but understanding how to effectively use and integrate AI tools into your workflow. The sources also touch on the emergence of new roles, like AI governance roles, people focused on setting guidelines and ensuring responsible AI use within organizations.
Okay, that makes sense. So based on everything we've unpacked here, digging through all these sources, what are some practical, actionable recommendations? What should you, the learner, actually do to navigate this landscape?
Well, drawing from the sources, the steps seem pretty clear. First, embrace lifelong learning. Constantly update your skills. Focus especially on those key areas: AI, data science, cybersecurity, cloud computing.
Keep learning. Focus on the hot areas.
Second, cultivate those hybrid skills we talked about. Technical depth, yes, but combined with analytical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence, that T-shape.
Tech plus human skills. Got it.
Third, become AI literate. Don't just learn about AI, learn how to use the tools effectively in your actual work.
Hands-on with AI tools.
Exactly. Fourth, maybe consider niche specializations, things that combine tech with other fields, maybe AI governance, like we mentioned, or green tech, or a specific area of cybersecurity. Find a niche.
Specialize. Okay.
And finally, be adaptable to evolving work models. Be flexible. Figure out what arrangement allows you to be productive and, fulfilled.
Find the work model that works for you, but be ready to adapt.
Okay. And for organizations, if someone's listening in a leadership role, what were the key takeaways for them?
The sources suggested a few key things for organizations. Invest significantly in upskilling your entire workforce, not just a select few. Foster a genuine, continuous learning culture. Rethink hiring processes to really focus on skills-based assessments.
Hire for skills.
Strategically balance those work models to attract talent. Recognize that hybrid is often necessary now. Prioritize human-centric AI integration, focus on augmenting employees, communicate transparently about it, and reevaluate compensation and benefits. Think beyond just salary. Consider culture, growth opportunities, flexibility.
Right, the whole package matters. These all seem like really practical steps directly drawn from the analysis and the sources.
Yeah, they flow directly from the trends and projections we discussed. So we've navigated the global undercurrents. We've explored the AI-driven transformation in IT, looked at those regional nuances, and really landed on the absolute necessity of continuous learning and adaptability. The future, it seems, isn't a binary choice, humans or machines.
Yeah, not at all.
It's really about effective collaboration, combining our technical strength with our uniquely human capabilities.
Exactly. And, considering that insight about AI potentially making workers dramatically more productive.
Yeah.
And putting that alongside the trend we saw earlier about labor's share of income potentially eroding globally, it raises a really crucial question for the future, doesn't it?
Which is?
If AI helps create significantly more wealth through this increased productivity, where will the value generated by that productivity ultimately end up? And maybe more importantly, how can we ensure that it benefits the workers who are using these tools as much as it benefits capital?
Where does the value go? That is a powerful question to keep at the forefront of your mind as you step into this evolving landscape. Definitely something to keep thinking about.